anything at Swiggy that you believe that with the advent of LLMs and then the advancement in ML has really become very easy, which was not an easy problem to solve?
See, I think across all organizations, not just in Swiggy, but so I think general productivity of the organization has significantly improved. In the world of product management, this wireframe creation has got faster.
At Amazon, you were some of the core PM, part of the product team, and the leader who proposed MiniTV as part of the app. So, where did that idea come from?
No e-commerce app has a video streaming service. We felt it will work because at that time, around 350 million people in India used to watch video. If we have a video streaming service on the Amazon app and that's free, and if people start their video streaming journey with Amazon, 2 years down the line, when they're ready for shopping, they will prefer an Amazon app than a competition app.
Where is AI helping you?
Like, one is how can we leverage AI to make us more productive and efficient?
Yeah.
And two, how do we use AI in our tools, what we are building, the product that we are building, and make it more effective? For any new product launch, there are three things that we try to discuss, debate. One, why are we doing this?
Understood.
Second is how will we solve it? And third is
behind every app you open, every tap you make, there's a story of people building products for millions of us. Hi, I'm Rati, and at Enzo Lab, we started this podcast to share what we have learned while helping startup design and scale digital products. This is Product and People, where we bring you real conversations with India's top product minds. From scaling design systems to finding that tiny insight that sparks a billion-dollar idea, we decode how product and people grow together. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and you can also listen to our full audio on Spotify. Now let's get started.
Hi, Tapojoy, and great to be sort of speaking to you today. As Rati introduced, I think you come with wealth of experience. I think multiple years at Amazon and then recently at Swiggy. So great to get a chance to be speaking to a product executive who has shaped how millions of people in today are not only shopping at e-commerce or watching consuming content or are now ordering and delivering, getting their food delivered at the right time. So great to have you and as part of this podcast, and excited to learn from you.
hey, thank you, Amar, and thank you, Rati, for having me. And obviously, extremely generous of you and kind of you for that introduction that you kind of gave me. So, but yeah, just happy to be here. Love to speak to you and see whatever I've learned over the years, if anything is useful for folks out there.
No, sure. I think the first time I went through, I came across you, I think was one of your exciting LinkedIn posts talking about the art of product management. And then I went through your profile and I was like, wow, I think the depth of experience that you have. You obviously started at ITC, then went and spent nearly a decade at Amazon. And then obviously in your recent role, you are shaping how even I and millions others order food every day on the platform. So I think just wanted to start with that journey. To me seems very inspirational, to be honest, right? Starting from you coming from a small town and now shaping how each of us, and I'm sure that one of the most known people in India are also coming to the app and ordering, and you are influencing their behavior and what they are eating, how they are living. How does it feel? And if you could sort of share more about the ups and downs you would have definitely gone through, how did you sort of stay on course? Where did you feel that, yes, product management is something that you really enjoy? And if there have been learnings on the way for all of us who come from those small areas in India but have an inspiration or let's say aspiration in instead to shape how the world is performing.
Think I didn't even know what product management is 20 or 15 years ago. I didn't know that. I had no idea what it was. If you look at my journey, I think my father used to work in the steel, so I used to travel across India. So small places like Tarapur or Paonta Sahib or Mandi Govindgarh is where bulk of my childhood is. I think when I look back at that child running around in a dusty little town in India, happily playing cricket in the afternoon and looking for that is the highlight of his day, I just focused on the next challenge. Next challenge at that time was getting good marks in school. Once school came to an end, the next challenge became, okay, let me get into a good engineering college, then let me get into a good company. Maybe then you realize yourself a little bit more. You said, okay, I am working software. I used to work in I used to work in Samsung in Noida then. That is this my whole life? Do I like working behind a computer whole day? I said, okay, let me see the real world. So let me do an MBA. So I did an MBA, went to XLRI, did sales in Saharanpur and Odisha in ITC for 3.5 years. And that's when Amazon knocked in. Started the journey in Amazon almost like a wide eye, uh, just wanted to do better. Okay, how can I launch a category that was given to me? I was given task for launching wearables, which is Apple watches, smartwatches, routers, and accessories. How do we grow this category? Somewhere down the line in 2014 and 15 is when the Amazon ads team was getting set up. I met this then my future manager, Harsh Goel. He took a punt on me, and my journey in product management started. And then it has been the last 11, 12 years that has where I've experienced and grown.
Understood.
I think as I was talking to you, like when I look back, I feel grateful. I feel, but also I feel that sometimes you don't know what the long term picture is. If you just focus on your next challenge,
Mm-hmm.
next, and just do it diligently, over a period of time they compound and they take you where you are. And so I'm a more a believer of focusing a lot on your next task than you may have a dream. Absolutely nothing wrong in having a dream. You should have a dream, but in the life, I've seen life can take you in different places. It doesn't always stay true to what you think is the only linear path. So yeah, I will tell my younger child, a lot of things can happen to you, buddy. Just focus on your next goal. Keep doing, keep winning that next match. If that is the right way of putting it, long term things will happen and they compound and take you to wonderful places which you thought even may not be possible.
Awesome, brilliant. I think one of the learnings that I take away from that story is that always try your best, maybe at the next challenge, and keep sort of putting in the best effort every day. Why it might be winning that evening match in your local street as a kid, or basically the feature that you are shipping. And definitely, if you keep doing well consistently, I think things would happen. But I think one sort of one thing that comes to my mind is that because obviously we are talking about product design and behaviors. So, what do you think was one? So, your future manager, Harsh, I think if I got the name right, when they introduced you to product management and how product management is today when you are leading, let's say, a large product team for a multi-billion dollar public company, what do you think has changed in those 15 years, and what have been your key learnings across the way that you would love to share with us?
I think the way I look at it, back in 2014-15 when I started my journey, everybody was learning the tropes of the industry. Commerce was relatively new, digital ads was very new. India was leapfrogging, almost skipping the desktop or laptop e-commerce and moving completely to the
Mobile.
mobile e-commerce space. Because everything was new, everything. I think all of it has had a lot of leeway to experiment and win, and we could fail, and people were much more generous towards me, if I put it this way. That okay, you made a mistake, big deal. We are also learning. I think
Understood.
uh, 11, 12 years down the line, what has happened is a lot of the thing has matured. Now we know what consumers like, what not like. So people, if you're trying to build a career in product management now, I would always say that try and get your foundationals and fundamentals right about the stream, about the industry right.
Understood.
Even the customer is not going to forgive you so easily the way they were forgiving 10, 11 years down the line. So I think that I had the benefit of joining early. I will be very open about it. It's not the same. It's much so, if now you're launching a product, it has to have a certain bar, certain quality, because consumers expect a certain quality in terms of what you throw to them. So that is the one thing that has changed across the industry, whether they talk about e-commerce, whether they talk about video OTT, whether they talk about food delivery or payments. There's a certain bar the consumers have got accustomed to, certain speed, certain quality. As a product manager, you need to be aware of that bar, and ensure that you meet that bar. Like for example, there are many books written globally which says, hey, product manager needs to launch product which they're not proud of at the beginning. What that really means is you should be open to getting feedback early. While that holds true, what was considered launch worthy 5 6 years down the line before is not launch worthy now. So you just have to ensure you tweak that expectation of what is launch worthy, that focus on quality becomes important. I think that to me has changed as a from a career perspective. The fundamentals of product management haven't changed. Whether you have to be consumer backward, it doesn't change. It's the same. Whether you are absolutely on top of your data, it doesn't change. You need to understand the software development cycle. That doesn't change. Or you need to be very good in stakeholder management and influencing, and it doesn't change. Core elements, it doesn't change. Last 6 to 8 months, however, one thing that is coming up with AI, your ability to prototype has got better.
Understood.
So, for example, if I was or my team was writing and evaluating a proposal, they would write it in a document. We will discuss a lot of times on the document, which is a textual document. Now, what is happening across the industry is because of GPT and image creation, people can convert that into more imagery or a visual format, which is and it can get done in half an hour to be precise. So when you do that, your conversations are much more real in terms of what everybody comes to the same frame of reference. So as a product manager, you need to know these tools to become more and more relevant in today's world and be faster in prototyping. So I think that's the second piece I would say has changed, and that's very last 1 year with the advent of the tools which are coming from Gen AI.
Understood. I think that's a brilliant take that while the fundamentals have changed, I think the Indian population at large, considering that we're shipping for the Indian diaspora, has basically become less forgiving just because their exposure and daily usage of the product has increased. So I think the bar of Indian product managers, designers, and the quality of products has become much higher, which everyone is exposed to. And similarly, and then hence, all of us also have to be much, much better while the fundamentals have remained same. And I understand that. I think there was a recent sort of tweet by the head of product for Gemini, and I think they were sharing that maybe the PRD is dead and it's age of more the prototype coming into picture. However, then there was a lot of tussle where they also clarified that PRD maybe now just comes after you have got some of that to and fro done on the visual prototype, so that there have been some brainstorming that has happened, and then you sort of, however, PRDs, it seems as if that whenever you are deeply thinking about and you are writing, I think that forces you to actually go into the nitty gritty of each aspect of your product, and that I think will stay as one of the best value proposition for some time to come.
Yeah, I think you brought a very good point. For any new product launch, there are three things that we try to discuss, debate. One, why are we doing this?
Understood.
Why do we need to do this? Why do we need to launch this product? What is the problem you're trying to solve? Second is how will we solve it? What is the exact solution that you have in mind? And third is how will you measure it? Whether you will know whether you're hitting the mark or not. What are the success or not? See, 1 and 3 remain the same. They haven't changed. So 1 and 3 needs to be done the way it is done today and continue to be done the way done today, which is your writing of. You may use writing, somebody may use presentations. That's to the organization structure. You will continue to use writing. And you will write it down that, hey, we think this is a sector, this is the consumer anecdote, this is the reason we are doing this problem. That doesn't change. AI may fast track the writing process. And I use from a personal tools of it a lot. I will
Understood.
give them in a bullet point. These are my point. This is my, and it will make it a nice, better readable
Yeah.
format. So it fast tracks the writing process.
Yeah.
What are you trying to create or how are you planning to solve? Historically, we used to avoid using designers because it's a time consuming, it's a costly affair.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you can use AI to augment your why part using this, obviously it makes the conversation way more meaningful. So to me, I don't think it is replacing that. It is becoming an additional asset that you are attaching to the conversation to make the conversation richer and more and more impactful or decision making faster. So I think that's the way I think this is kind of changing. And to be honest, in India, it is even more important. I'll tell you why. I have been very grateful to have seen how products is evaluating around the world.
Understood.
I get access to what is happening in US, LATAM, or South America, or Southeast Asia. If you look at e-commerce, if you look at payments, if you look at video OTT, if you look at banking experiences, no place in the world is better than what the experience of the is in India. No place. We have leapfrogged all of them. I think you try and use a bank. I will not take chain, but take a top three bank of a US player and just use any of the even of our we think they are legacy players like an HDFC, and you will notice the difference. You use any food delivery app, whether it's Zomato, Swiggy, and you start comparing it with a DoorDash in US or a Grubhub in
Definitely.
US or any of these players, you will see the difference. Same in Amazon. You use the Amazon US app, you see the Amazon India app, you might noticing differences. So I think, and obviously I'm not even going to OTT. If you ever try to use the apps like by outside Netflix, Amazon, and Disney, if you want to use any of the OTT apps in US, you will not be happy at all in terms of the. They almost sometimes feel like 4 or 5 years behind what the experience a Geo Cinema or a Z, even a Z5 or any of the players are able to provide. So I think we've really reflogged the world in terms of the experience our consumers get, not just from speed, because everybody talks about 10 minutes, 10 minutes speed, but just the consumer experience that we are. So because the consumers are already having that high bar, when you're launching a product, when you're debating about a product, it becomes even more efficient if you can get all the assets together and get the right decisions and make it happen.
Well, first of all, yeah, I think that was a great reflection. I believe that obviously I've been using whenever I'm traveling abroad on the other apps that are out there, and they feel like they are, I think, at least 2, 3 years behind what where let's say the experience we are habitual of getting. Leaving aside the 10-minute delivery, right? I think I was recently in Spain and I was at 1 a.m. I think I was thinking that as my behavior is that let me go ahead and order on Swiggy. And I was finding the similar competitor. Either the delivery charge is very high, or it would be very late, or it is not possible across different cities as well. So I think not only convenience, but just the product experience in terms of how deeply the product community and the tech community has been experimenting in India. And I think they have generally leapfrogged. And I think maybe towards the end of the conversation, I would like to come back again to this because it is generally said in a lot of conversations that maybe we have never seen a global product coming out of India, which is core product. But I think what you mentioned is also very exciting, right? The kind of experience we are able to provide has also been much ahead on what we see as for general use cases abroad. I think the other aspect, and thank you for mentioning it, I think as product managers, I have generally felt that when you are presenting, let's say, what your vision is in a more visual way, I think you're generally able to convince the leadership or let's say your peers or let's say the business counterparts much more easier because then they are able to visualize. I think with AI coming in, that superpower is helping us, let's say, maybe go more in depth and explain to them how we're actually thinking about what the flow would look like and what is the value that sort of it will create. But before we jump into, let's say, specific aspects of your journey, do you think that by sort of using all of that, has the process of getting, let's say, approvals or aligning your stakeholders has also started to becoming much more quicker given the more visual the PMs have started to go?
Theoretically, yes, it
Understood.
still depends on the leadership around you, because sometimes, and it's human nature, when we get more, we desire more. It's right. So it's a little bit human nature. So everybody around you need to be aware that we need to make a decision in a particular time frame. As a product manager, you need to set that around you, that I
Mhm.
need to make this decision in today's meeting or in the next 2 days meeting. While I'll get you more information than what was possible earlier, the decision timeline is this, so that it doesn't get into a stake where you provide more, people ask more, you provide more, people ask more, because Indian decision making is hard. Nobody likes to take a punt. So it's important for you as a product leader to ensure that you make others adhere to that decision timeline. If you are able to do that, this is definitely going to make things faster.
Understood. Brilliant point. And I think one of the core skills that product managers are never taught, and maybe I think in other professions as well, in schools and colleges in India, how to influence, let's say, the people around you, right? And I also, obviously, and you also talked about it, we were looking at what you have been doing, right? And I think at Amazon, you were some of the core PM part of the product team and the leader who proposed MiniTV as part of the app. So if you could walk us through the journey of where did that idea come from, how did you think about it, and then what we just spoke, right? How difficult or easy was it to influence your stakeholder? What were your learnings from that? And how do you create a playbook which, let's say, I'm hoping you use till today to influence large and senior executives?
So I think I learned the importance of influence somewhere around in 16, 17, very critically, where I was. So till then, I used to do projects, and we were to, which either had very limited dependence on international stakeholders, people sitting out of US. So we had our own team and we could build things, or whatever there was available in US, we could just take it to India and deploy. We thought of a project somewhere in the field of account management layer and tools, which
Mm-hmm.
was even US had not built. And when I took it, the naive in me, I presented, I thought, okay, we'll build this. They said, no, this is the challenge. These are the 5, 6 issues we should discuss and debate and
Awesome.
figure out the right solution. Figuring out the right solution went on for 9 months, and that's when I realized that in a large organization there are multiple dynamics at play. It is not just face value. There could be reasons where people may not want you to do the project because they think they might want to do the project later, or the project might interfere their metrics, which I call conflicting metrics, because everybody's focusing on their metrics, right? Everybody's evaluated on their metrics. So it is very important, on from a peer perspective, you are very clear on why will somebody help you,
Understood.
why will somebody buy into your idea. So that was the first example which hit me, that okay, I need to get better, I need to understand what is happening beyond peers. When you look at your leadership, people who are above you, could be VPs or SVPs or CEOs or whatever, they are exposed to 15 different ideas every day at from their scale. Like if you have a CEO and she's sitting in 15 different meetings, she will get exposed to 15 different ideas. She will never have the full information or the context that you will have about your project. She'll always make a decision with that limited context, but she could gather in that 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 15 minutes.
Understood.
It is your role to ensure she has the right context. So a lot of people think influence is a little bit is political. Oh, why will I do influence? No, influence is a lot about ensuring your leadership gets the right context, so that you use those 15-20 minutes with them well, so that they can take the right decision. It is your role to help them take the right decision.
Understood.
If you are not doing that job well, if you're not outsourcing that properly, the information to them, you're actually not doing the job well, because she won't know what the full context or information is. So it is a very critical thing for even for an organization. And as you grow as a product leader, it becomes more and more critical. One, because generally product managers are the one who are working in a space for the first time. This is generally something you're building new. Like
Yep.
it's like an organization is thinking, okay, should I enter advertisements? Okay, maybe Tapojoy Chatterjee is sitting somewhere here. Let's ask him to evaluate and do it. Product managers generally work on new elements, which means in your team, in your organization, you will be the first one or two who's going to research about the topic. So if you are going to be the first one or two who's going to research about the topic, then you need to convey that goodness of your research back to your leadership. If you do a shoddy job, they will not understand the importance, or they will overinflate the importance and take a wrong decision. So in a product manager role, it becomes extremely, extremely critical because of the nature of the role, which is always going to touch novel topics than what it generally does. So that's the context of what I felt and why I feel it is important as a space. Before I move into my mini TV and example, what I feel frustrated though is nobody taught me. In my 4 years of engineering, in my 2 years of MBA, nobody taught me this. Nobody. Like it's such a basic thing that we need to be spoken about, of how to communicate, how to articulate, how to figure out what is the most important thing to say and what is not required to say. Nobody taught us. I don't know why. And when I look at candidates, even look at the curriculum of our graduate, it's still not taught the way ideally it should be, when it is such a foundational element for us. So that's my pet peeve. That's my frustrations that I always have. But anyway, so coming to your question now on Mini TV, I think the story is very funny. Like this is back in 2018-19. So me and my manager Harsh then was evaluating how do we grow digital ads. Obviously, Google and Facebook had a bigger business than us, and we wanted to grow in that space. We realized that in India, video ad space was growing by almost 55% year on year. It was at that
Understood.
time, 18, 19. It was a very big number. Like it's huge. And on the primary player who was winning it was YouTube. There was nobody else who was there. Advertisers were keen. Now they like it because people actually spend time on video. They look at the ad. They are able to show their story. So it had all the foundations going. But Amazon as an app didn't have anything. It was a very text and image based app. So we realized if we don't enter this space, we're gonna lose out. We're gonna be dead in 4 years, 5 years time. So we need something. So that's when the
Understood.
genesis came. The genesis first came is we prepared a proposal of let's have ads on Prime Video. This is 2019.
Understood. Yeah.
The proposal went, everybody agreed, but I think at that time there was a leader called Jeff Blackburn, in US who was to head Prime Video and ads and that. He was not keen. His point was, I feel very worried about attaching the word ads with Prime because it's
Well,
been it's a feeling, it's an emotion. I don't know. Try something else. So he shot us.
un-
We after some 6 7 months of hard work and aligning everybody in that room, everybody was aligned except him, and he shot us. And we went back to the drawing board. Fun
understood.
story, digression. Amazon launched Prime Video ads last year. It's just did in June
Yeah.
this year in India. So I was talking to the head VP of ads in US, and he was saying, "Yeah, the world has turned around to your proposal after 4 5 years." But anyway, so that went back. Then we regrouped and said, okay, what do we do now? We don't have Prime Video. Uh, so I we got our country head, Amit, who was then the India head. We sat around and we evaluated why don't we launch video on Amazon app itself. Now that was a bold idea because nobody has done that. If you look at around the world, no e-commerce app has a video streaming service. We felt it will work because at that time around 350 million people in India used to watch video roughly.
Okay. Awesome.
Of that, 160 odd million would do e-commerce shopping. So
So more people were watching.
people were introduced to video more than actual e-commerce shopping, primarily because you need a payment instrument, you need confidence of a transaction, you need to be much more familiar with the universe before you start doing it. So the hypothesis we had was, if we have a video streaming service on the Amazon app and that's free, and if people start their video streaming journey with Amazon 2 years down the line,
Understood.
when they're ready for shopping, they will prefer an Amazon app than a competition app because, hey, the Amazon app is what I'm using on an everyday basis for watching video. So that was the hypothesis. Amit agreed, and he saw the potential of that hypothesis. He said, yeah, that makes
Awesome.
sense. From an ad side, Amazon generally has a better ability to make money per ad than a Google or Facebook because Amazon can predict your requirements better. Because if Amar is buying diapers, Amazon knows you're buying diapers. You bought 6 diapers 15 days ago, so you will buy a diaper again. Compared to a Facebook or a Google where the information is much limited. So it's able to make more money. So the PNL started working when I put all that
Understood.
equation in that space. So then we started writing a new proposal, and that proposal happened. First, Amit got, and we bought the proposal into two streams because we realized there are two different, actually three streams. We realized there are three different streams which are benefiting. What we did,
Understood.
whenever we would speak to the global e-commerce or marketplace team, which owns a shopping app, the
Mm-hmm.
conversation was primarily focused on how many new customers we'll be able to bring in because of the video ecosystem. Uh, so it was there's nothing, no conversation on ads or anything. It was all about new customer. The equation for new customer should work. When we would
Understood.
speak to the ads team and get their buy-in, we would all primarily talk about the ads revenue we will bring in, how much of advertiser share of wallet we would be able
Will
to kind
they
of bring into the picture. We also need a technology from the Prime Video team because you can't just suddenly go and create your own player, right? You need to use the technology. We spoke to them, and the primary conversation with them was one, we will make your technology ad supported so that tomorrow, 5 6 years down the line, if you ever decide to use ads, you will have a ready technology available to you. So,
understood?
what
Yeah.
we did was we identified the primary objective of each team, of what they really care about, and focus the conversation with them on that. There's no point in distracting them to the other threads of the equation. The overall equation only I knew, my manager knew, or my Amit knew, but everybody else needed to focus only on that. Because of the sharpness of this three conversation threads, it went, it got approved. Each of them agreed to kind of make it work. It was an extremely complicated tech work because think of it like two large organizations, Amazon retail, Prime Video, and ads, three different trains running, and you're trying to create a ladder between the three trains. It was crazy. But anyway, we managed it. Multiple influence techniques was used in terms of how we convinced them to get the work done for us. I can tell like one negotiation we had with someone, a leader called Ashraf. He's left Amazon. He said, okay, I need 14 engineers for you to make this work for me because you're going to touch my stack. I went back, created a proposal how I can't give you 14. I don't have 14. Sometimes the negotiation technique to use is I don't have money.
Understood.
It's like, dude, you want X, I don't have, so I can only give you 4. This is the best I can do. Now you choose whether you want 4 or not 4. So that's the negotiation technique we used. Some cases the negotiation technique we used was all our performances in ads will start reflecting in your metric. So that you can show it to your leadership that hey, this is the benefit you are deriving from this. So yeah, you get the benefit of this metric. So sometimes it was about using that. Sometimes it was about absolutely escalation. You're not listening to me. I'm going to get the SVP in the room and now let them decide how to solve it. So there are different techniques we used to kind of influence each different stakeholders, and then the final results kind of,
Understood.
in Hindi there's a word asu aa jana aankhon mein. In the Jeevan Bhima Nagar area in Bangalore,
Understood.
and there was this 17-year-old guy who's a college student. So we're talking to him, what apps do you use? And he said, I use Snapchat and I use Streaks and whatever. Then I said, what do you do with Amazon? You had an Amazon app. And he said, I have Amazon app because I like the videos of MiniTV. I don't shop, I keep it for MiniTV. And I said,
Understood.
wow, finally, this was that consumer we wanted to meet, and maybe that's the direction, the hypothesis that is really kind of turning towards. So I WhatsApped my team, I WhatsApped Aruna and team and everybody that, hey, this is what I saw, and really feel proud that what you guys are able to achieve after I've left. So yeah, good to see that.
No, I think thank you first of all for sharing that personal story, Tapojoy. And I can see the amount of, first of all, the amount of confidence it would have taken you, right, to have that belief that after multiple challenges you still kept pursuing. And I can understand. I think three learnings that I take. One is obviously you were able to create that vision for the organization and for yourself to have a very strong belief, right, that this idea, if pursued, is not only solving the problem for today but also solving the problem for the future, right, from a customer acquisition perspective. So I think we would love to learn more about that, because how did you create that vision? What is the process that we can follow? Second, I think very very brilliant anecdote that you shared was that always think from your stakeholder point of view and understand what matters to them. Maybe declutter what you are trying to do, find what aligns with your stakeholders krs, or let's say what they really want to do, what would help them get promoted, or let's say good work with their managers, and streamline and sort of put that exactly to them. And I think there are higher chances to sort of get that approval. And third was also conflict resolution. I think you shared three examples of how to do it, right? But I think a lot of times when, and I have also struggled with it, when is the right time to loop in leadership, when it can backfire, when is not the right time. I think that is also what I think you did wonderfully well. And I'm sure all of that sweat that you poured, and maybe some blood as well, and now seeing that that consumer is actually coming up in India who's trusting Amazon just because it has mini TV, the brand recall is there, and then eventually they'll translate to maybe a shopping consumer. Some brilliant insights for particularly me, and I'm sure everyone who is watching. But just wanted to understand what is, let's say, what is one suggestion that you'll give to everyone who is listening to us, that what should be the framework that they should follow while creating a vision, which now you are seeing that obviously would have got fulfilled then and you would have got a lot of praise, but now you are seeing materializing at such a massive scale in India. So how do you nudge people to think in that direction? What is a framework that we can use so that we're thinking maybe 2, 3, and 5 years ahead, right? Today everyone is worried that what would happen with AI, and this can really be helpful. So yeah, over to you. Would love to understand from you the framework you used then, and what, how can we replicate it today?
So the way I look at it, there are two
Hmm.
things or two parts to this story. First
Okay.
part is, are you identifying the right problem to solve? Because when you look at innovation, people think innovation is a lot about technology. While it is, in my mind,
Hmm.
innovation is A,
Okay.
do you know how to find the right problem?
Understood.
Innovation comes from finding problems. You need to first find the problem to solve.
Hmm.
You can argue now that, hey, what about science and technology? Let me then break it. Innovation in the science world, which is a pure research world, comes from what we do, which is R&D labs and everything. Innovation in the business world and in the product world, which is where we are talking about, comes from A, finding the right problem to solve.
Understood.
Two, finding the right solution or technology available to solve that problem.
Understood.
And three, measuring, are you moving it in the right direction quickly, so that
Yeah.
if you need to change, pivot, or do anything, you are doing it fast. These three are the most critical elements.
Understood.
To find the right problem to solve, you need to be close to your customer, and it's like everybody will say the same, right? The way I do that is, I have broadly realized that all consumer problems can be broken down into four or five fundamental needs.
Awesome.
Need number one, people like to save time. Nobody, if you're creating a product which is saving time disproportionately, they will take a product, they will adopt it. People like to save money. If you save their money, they will save money, generate money. But I'll put it, if you save their money, you will get them. Three, people love to reduce effort. You make them sit more, you make them lie down more, they will take your product.
Yeah.
Four, people love recognition. You give them recognition, they will love your product. You figure out how to do. And five, people like to laugh, cry, or experience emotion. We call it entertainment in one bucket, but they like to experience emotion. If you're able to give them that, they will. So if you look at all the products in the world, all successful products in the world, they inevitably solve for any of these five needs that have. They will may solve for one or two, both. Maybe because Uber ended up solving both for time and effort. Time because you got the app, cab. Effort, you don't have to walk to the nearest taxi stand. And later money. They were able to reduce the price. So it became a very successful product. So you need to, I think the way I put my team and put myself on the radar is, one, when you're doing your consumer research, when you're talking to consumers, when you're talking or doing third party research or secondary research, whatever, try and map all the pain points that the consumer has spoken to any of these five needs. If you're able to map clearly and you see there's a problem, you have a solution. If you're not able to map to any of these five, then you should go back and check if you have the right problem to solve or not.
Understood.
Most innovations fail because they start with a problem which is never a consumer need, not a foundational need. They'll create something fuzzy, and they'll put millions of dollars in this, and then they will realize, oh, it's not a need. Like one of the notorious examples will be an app called Quibi, if you have ever heard.
Yeah,
Quibi
yeah.
was a short form video format started by a Disney executive. Now they
2
spend
billion. But
billions, I don't know, like billions of dollars in something like, hey, people if watch it on the mobile, they can flip it, watch it, flip it. But was that ever a need? It was never a found. It is neither saving time, money, effort, nothing for the consumer. So why will you invest billions of dollars? So it's, I think the first step in my mind or framework is, whenever you're finding the consumer need, and it will come from your research, map it down to these five fundamentals. If you see that any of these fundamentals are moving meaningfully,
hmm,
then you have a great need. You have a good problem to solve. If you're not, then you don't have a good problem to solve. You should go back. Like, that is the best time to go back instead of spending dollars and then realizing it's not. That's step number one. The reason also it is useful is when you do that laddering and you present that to your leadership stakeholders, they also buy in because they know that you are solving a genuine problem and not a random idea that you have in your mind. Number two is finding the technology. I think it's very critical for a product manager today because with AI, you need to know what is possible, what is not possible, what is pragmatic, what is not pragmatic, how much it's going to cost. So this is where you start mapping the solutions to this problem. Like 5 6 years ago, Amazon had been trying to create catalog for its sellers for years.
yeah.
Creating a catalog on Amazon is a very painful process. You have to literally like 50 to say this is the sari size A, size B, size
It's very
C, and
low.
it's a painful and you can have mistakes. So Amazon has been trying to help sellers auto create it for them, but
Understood.
it has been miserably failing in trying to do that because the machine learning capabilities was not big enough. So if a product manager was trying it in 2018-19, and it was me who did, we shut it down. We shut down that project. We said no, it's not going to work. It's the technology is not ready. The problem is genuine. It's a genuine problem to solve. It's a big problem to solve. We don't have the technology yet to solve the problem. Cut to 2024-25.
Right.
Obviously the team is picking it up again because now the technology is ready to solve the problem. So it the second part becomes very critical as a product manager to know when is the right solution. Do you have the right solution at your disposal to solve it? Because that has then, and third part is measurement. See, lot of products get launched, people not knowing whether it is working or not working. It's very important you figure out the measurement, even especially in today's world of AI. Like if you don't do it, you launch something, you don't even know, some customer got a random chat and you will not even know. For example, you launched a conversation bot and the conversation bot sent something to Tapojoy Chatterjee which didn't realize, you will not know unless the consumer comes back to you and says, guys, what are you doing? You are not solving a problem. But most customers won't come back to you. They will just shut down the app and move on. Measuring becomes critical. So generally what I do is I try and cover all these three elements in the
Understood.
document which I present to the leadership. And try and ensure all these points that I spoke to you about. What is the consumer problem? Why do I think it's a consumer problem? How does it map it to a core need? Why do I think it's a problem to be solved now, today? How will I solve the problem? Do we have the technology to solve the problem? What is the impact of the solution and how will I measure the impact? So if you cover all these three, then generally if you've done a good job, either you will self reject the idea and say, hey, It's not working. And I've done tons of ideas where I said, no, I know I love the idea, but it is not working. Move on. Or your research will convince, document will convince the leadership that, hey, he or she has done the good job. It seems very pragmatic. So that's generally the framework at least I have used in my life in this case.
So that is very well put, and thank you for sharing that framework for all of us. I think what I really took away from it, that if, let's say, you are really tackling or solving for a core human need, and you are either making their life easier, you are reducing their effort, you are giving them chance to, let's say, earn more or save, or let's say you are basically in a way helping them achieve more in their life, right, in terms of whatever they aspire for. And if you have the supporting technology and you are able to measure it, maybe go ahead and sort of try it. And I think that's a brilliant framework, because all of us sometimes pick problems which I think we are excited about. We feel that probably the QB CEO may have felt that, hey, this is not working for me, and maybe I have short form episodes of different. I think that would work because the attention span is, let's say, reducing. So maybe I think all of that coming together, and then you going ahead might be a very very brilliant approach. And I think I also self reject a lot of ideas, and I think that framework which you shared can be really really helpful. While we are touching upon it, Tapoja, I just wanted to understand that has there been an instance in the past where, let's say, you were not really very confident or sure that yes, this idea at Amazon across different products that you have worked with would be a successful or not, but eventually the consumer surprised you, that and it led to, let's say, massive improvement in the metrics or whatever you were chasing?
And there has been a few. I'm just thinking. I think I'll give an example of Swiggy in this
Understood.
case. So generally, when we come from the food delivery world, we look at distance as a negative metric.
Understood.
For example, if a restaurant is one restaurant is 2 kilometers away, one restaurant is 7 kilometers away, I will generally prefer the one which is 2 kilometers away. Whether I'm dining because I can travel less or I can order comes faster. When we are working on the Dine Out app, one of the interesting anecdotes that came in was the value. Actually, it was not an anecdote, it came from the data scientist when she was doing the analysis, that the value of distance or the negative factor of coefficient of distance is obviously important in a urban or a tier 1 city, but it is not so important in a tier 2 city, maybe a Lucknow or a Gorakhpur or a Asansol in the country. So when you listen to it, why people in Asansol also will have traffic, it doesn't matter. I think when we so what we did was we actually created a bifurcated recommendation logic. If you're in a tier 1 city, it had a direct correlation to distance, so you saw more and more restaurants which are closer to your
Closer
place.
to you.
And in tier 2 cities, we said anything up to 10 kilometers is considered equal. After 10, we are gonna start doing the dampening.
Understood.
It worked. It actually worked. So then we did a reinforcement studies with consumers, and we realized that in a smaller town, unlike a city which has so many pockets of restaurants, a lot of times so it's a one congregation.
Understood.
So a lot of restaurants are together in that near the railway station
Yeah.
or the main
Yeah.
mall or multiplex. It's not like a linear
Full market.
spread. Also, people are more, because of traffic or whatever reasons, people are more comfortable traveling to slightly longer distance if it is less than a 10-kilometer radius. So these are small things that it came from data, but we experimented with a mixed feeling that whether it will
Understood.
work, blew us away. We realized, whoa, even like the consumer preference for distance also changes whether you're talking about a city, tier 1 city, tier 2 city, or any of that. So, and that was one example where we kind of loved it. And then we doubled down and we played with the 10-kilometer, with it should be 7, 12. A lot of changes were brought in. Uh, Dynamics was taken. Some restaurants are actually far away. Like if you go to Jalandhar place, there is Haveli and then there is Rangla Punjab. All of those are even more than 10 kilometers away from the city. So you have to put a customized radius for that city sometimes. So you have to do a
Understood.
little bit of mapping, but generally the what we used to think is India is uniform in terms of its preference for distance is not true.
Understood.
It changes from city to city.
Awesome. I think that is a very, very brilliant insight, because I think largely we say a lot is said that the consumer behavior across tier 2, tier 3, or the next half billion users who have come online is mimicking in a way what tier 1 prefers. but I think those smaller cultural or on ground nuances, because sometimes how I look at it is that I come from Kanpur. Obviously there's an IIT, but it was a small town. Now it's advancing very fast. There are some restaurants which are, let's say, 15 to 20 kilometers away, and dining outside home is not a very religious or everyday practice. So whenever you are ordering or you want to go, I think you will go to those brand names because they are, let's say, scattered, or they are closer to the mall road or the main
Exactly.
area. But I think in Bangalore you have, let's say, if there is a great restaurant, there might be two three avenues very closer to you that are available as well. For example,
Exactly.
I think Lucky Chan, I'm not sure if you have
Yeah,
been to
yeah.
it.
It's
Lucky
close to
Chan
my home.
is in Eco World, and is now they are opening, right? So I think those dynamics, unless and until, as you mentioned, we look at data, we might never uncover, and those are few things which surprises about. And hence, I think what you were saying, interacting with the user and reinforcing what data is telling you after you have shipped, I think is very critical. But before we jump onto Swiggy, which is, I think, a very interesting part of your career, the Pooja, and we would love to learn more. I think coming back to Amazon, and I think you mentioned about ads and trying to sort of build that business, right? Ads in e-commerce, I think, was a very novel concept back, I think, 10 years back. But when I look at, let's say, the GMV contribution of, let's say, Zepto ads, for example, today to the business, I think the founder recently posted on LinkedIn as well. They are doing more than 1,000 CR already. And ads within, let's say, e-commerce, quick commerce, and the commerce has actually become a big part, if I'm not sure, of the top line and bottom line as well. So how do you look at the evolution that has happened, and how has product been a key party to it? And also, if you can throw light, and I think that's one of the feathers in your cap of the patent that you hold related to sort of personalizing advertisements at scale. So how did that come across? I think those will be very beneficial for all of us to learn.
I think what has primarily evolved in ads is ads started as a pure play. I'll use the word nuisance slash bad customer experience, which needs to be done to make money. That was the mental model. That was the thought process. To now, ads is nothing but a automated way of getting merchandising done in your app, getting the advertisers to do the merchandising for you and make money.
Understood?
So the nuance here is when you start treating it as a way of merchandising, then you automatically bring in a lot of relevance into the picture. It's no more that same banner of Apple which everybody sees at the top. You see a different, you not just see a different ad, which is, say, if you will see Apple, I might see OnePlus or whatever, but even the content on the format of the ad is tuned to your preference. So if Tapojoy Chatterjee likes to look at more visual and takes decision more on visual elements, it will be more image based. If Amar takes a lot on text, then the ad creative will start optimizing itself to for a textual format for you. So that relevance of both which ad to show, which format to show, has now become almost mainstream, and a lot of people are working on it. What some of the work that is even happening now is not just about who you are as a consumer, Amar, but also who you are as a consumer and what are you watching at that moment as a consumer. So it tries to marry that. So, for example, if you a lot of work is happening both in Amazon, I know, and outside is if you're watching and content, and Amazon experimented, by the way, with in I think I forgot the name of the show in Prime, but you'll find it. Is if somebody's wearing a particular dress, say somebody's wearing a little black dress or a green sari or whatever, you start getting that signal. You also know that you tend to buy ethnic wear, so you will marry that signal. Ethnic
Mm-hmm.
wear, green dress on the screen. Let's combine both of this and see what is the most relevant ad contextually. So I think it's getting to a zone where not just a signal of who are you and what do you want, to what you are watching right now and what is the universe and what is the context around you, even that is getting picked up and the ad is getting tuned to that. So it's a lot of relevance that is kicking in the world of ads today, and it will continue to go in that direction because that's what works. Whenever we have added relevance, whenever we have tried to bring in elements, the performance of an ad improves because it's more relevant to you as a consumer. You start clicking on it, you start engaging with it, and that's success. And it's the same story in the food delivery world. It's there's no difference. It's a context. You are
That's right.
scrolling in a kebab page. Within that kebab page, if today is a day which is Shraddh, then you might see vegetarian kebabs. But if it's not, so
Understood.
all of those context, seasonality starts getting factored in showing that ad for you. Interestingly, it's a very product driven space because all of this requires a lot of long term thinking, consumer thinking, and it requires a lot of technology scale to build it. It can't be done one on one. It needs scale, it needs the technology to work in the back. So it's a fascinating world
Understood.
of ads where, because here you learn about consumer behavior, you try to learn advertiser behavior, you need to be good in the PNL piece of it as well, and you need to be very strong in machine learning, and little bit towards Gen AI in terms of what you can show and what you can't show. So it's a very interesting world if somebody wants to build a career in the field of ads. But it's a good space to be because it's a it's interesting. I have a very funny poster I saw in one of the leaders in Amazon. She had put a poster which said, "I don't know whether to laugh or cry when the best minds in the world are working towards how to make a consumer click."
Click.
But yeah, that's the true story. So that's what it is. Like you will find one of the sharpest minds in the world working in this space, and it's a very very interesting space to pick it.
No, no, awesome. And I think there's a Netflix documentary as well. How, let's say, the let's social media unicorns and giants, right? Facebook, Instagram are, let's say, spending billions of dollars to understand what you're thinking at that moment and which ad, which format you are most likely to sort of click on and generate. But I think that towards the end, that documentary also talks about privacy, safety of what, let's say, the organizations know about you as an individual, and where, let's say, from an ethics standpoint, a person or an organization or a PM, right, should draw the line. So given that you already hold a patent in that direction, what will your advice be to the PMs who are, let's say, leveraging these fields of upcoming ads to be displayed to users, right? Where do you draw the line? How do you decide it? And how do you build more trust for your consumer that, hey, everything that you are showcasing to me and engaging me with, I will not use to, let's say, manipulate or harm you, in a word, beyond a limit. Obviously there are business needs we have to solve for, but what would your directional guidance on that would be?
See, my patent is in the field of mobile number masking, which is
Understood.
uh, we realize that. So tomorrow, if you see a vehicle ad, say you saw an ad by Honda, and you want to do a test run or a trial run, or you want to know more about it. What happens is you end up sharing your mobile number with the client, whoever is
Understood.
Honda or real estate agent, and then they ended up bombarding you for eternity with that message, even if you chose not to pursue that conversation. Correct? We want to prevent that. We realize that it's a bad consumer experience. You just want to have probably one more conversation or two more
Understood.
conversations. You don't want a lifelong relationship with them so that they keep sending you SMSs. So we built a capability and it's available in Amazon where a pseudo contact would be shared with them, which they will then release you, and that can only be used two times. After that,
Understood.
they can't reach out to you unless you want to reach out to them and have a. So I think taking a leeway from that, the fundamental element of privacy in ads is one: at no point of time should any customer information be diverged to the user,
Mhm.
which leads to them having a long term communication with you unless you desire to do that. Number one. Two, at no point of time, nobody in the advertising world should be able to recognize or realize, oh, this is Tapojoy Chatterjee.
Okay.
At whatever, like it could be any information. We call it personal identify information. It could be your address, it could be your face, images, or it could be your PAN number or whatever. At
Understood.
no point, anybody in the system, and not just the advertiser, anybody in the system, any employee in the organization should
Understood.
be able to access or identify you in this. It could be anything. For example, if you are buying a diaper, or if you are a young kid buying a particular book, you should not know what you are buying at no point of time. It should be a encrypted information. So that's the second piece in the world of privacy that you need to take care of as a product leader. Third thing, less in the world of e-commerce, more in the world of social media and Google, is there don't know who the other party is sometimes, who is advertising. Correct? Somebody can say, hey, I am a car improvement person, but you don't know. You are not verified. So it is very important as a product leader, if you're building those tools, is also to build the verification and the validation system,
Yep.
especially because these tools are getting used by kids around the world. Kids use social media so much, and Google so much, it's important that they don't get at any point of time wrongly abused or wrongly reached out by people. So it's very important that you build those fail safe and checks to understand who is the advertiser, which advertisement can be shown to whom and which advertisement can't be shown to whom. That
Understood.
becomes a third layer of privacy management, and that is happening, and it's very AI driven today. But that's a lot of work that gets done. A leader called Kirat, he's the VP of ads privacy. His team works a lot
Understood.
and this, and if you're interested, you can always check his LinkedIn post. He talks about how they're using different technologies, graph mesh, different ways of AI mapping to figure out if this is the right person, this is the right ad to show or not. So
Awesome.
that's the third piece, which if you want to learn, you should do about. Last piece in the world of privacy and advertisement, I'll always call it as, in the end, even if you do all of this, consumer doesn't know it, right? They may get spooked by what they see. So it is important you figure out elements of explainability to them. That, hey, you are seeing this ad, blah,
Because
because of this. So that they know there is a reason. They don't get spooked. Because in the end, your job is to ensure that the right ad goes to the right consumer and the consumer doesn't get spooked and finds it relevant for them. So it's a little bit about understanding the consumer perception, consumer psychology. So put a little bit of thought process on that as well while you're doing all the foundational work. It can all become zero if the
understood.
consumer doesn't understand the work that you're doing, and they get afraid. Okay, why is this person reaching out to me? That means somebody must have shared my number. No. So just ensure that the communication piece of privacy is also well taken care of. I think the organization which is less into ads but does it best is Apple. They have actually flipped the equation and now
To
use it
give
as a
users
branding
more
image. And
control.
so, but all of the ads players today can do it. And a lot of that's the lot of work that you will see happening in these four dimensions. And any new product manager, if he or she can take care of these four dimensions, they will have a successful ads product.
I think that's a brilliant summarization. And I think that also helps me connect from your Amazon journey to Swiggy journey, because I'm not sure if you are directly managing it, but as of today, I think all of us see a lot of ads, ones in the post order screen, right? Where there is a delivery partner who is now masked with some of the brands, and then below we have a lot of ads. So I think I could not see a better point to relate the Amazon journey to Swiggy journey. But let's say as a PM, Tapujay, how do you think about it? I think there would have been a lot of options available to you as the head of product for at least food delivery and and what you can show in that post, let's say, order screen to build, let's say, recall, to maybe nudge them for the next action. So, how does the prioritization work? And if you could show, let's say, uh, guide us through the journey that Swiggy went through, let's say, becoming a small function for the ad market as well. Recently, we also reached out to Swiggy for showcasing some ads to on the post order screen. And obviously, we were discussing how well we can target, etc. When do you, let's say, for a core product business like Swiggy, how do you take those calls? Where do you see merit in showcasing ad versus nudging them for the next action? So, yeah, I think some guidance on that and your framework would be really helpful.
See, I think in the world of Swiggy or food delivery, we realize that the emotional state of a consumer is generally more heightened than, say, an e-commerce, regular e-commerce. And it's primarily because most people open the app when they're hungry, right? So, and when you're hungry, you don't want a lot of distraction because you generally already have something in your mind, the cuisine or the restaurant, you have it in your mind most of the cases. If I distract you, there's a high chance you might get frustrated and a little bit angry because you're hungry, because you're having that heightened state. Vis-a-vis, if you look
Understood.
at an Amazon, it's not a heightened state. It's still a very neutral state. Even if you're looking for socks, and if I show you, okay, by the way, you're looking for socks, do you also want to try look at the other shoes around you or handkerchiefs around you? You may be open to it because, okay, I have time. You're browsing a little bit. So what at least we've done in Swiggy is we try to map the consumer's mental state to what kind
Sure.
of ads we show. So till the
Understood.
point somebody has checked out or ordered something, you will not see any external intervention generally.
Understood.
Forget about external intervention. You will see very relevant ads. For example, there is a reorder section. Now,
Yep.
reorder section has ads, but it still is a re-ranking of the space. I'm not introducing some other random restaurant which you ordered once into the reorder section. No, I am probably just playing around with the ranking logic. That something which would show up third will show up first because
Understood.
that's the maximum I will play in the relevant space because you're hungry. But if you have scrolled down and you entered, say, a kebab space instead of reorder, then I'll have a little bit more leeway of showing different types of kebabs to you because you've given me a context. Now I will use that to expand it. Once you've ordered, then I know you're done. At least your action is taken. You have you moved from a state of hunger to
Anxiety.
now a state of anxiety because you will keep checking where is my food, where is my food. Now, one thing I can say, okay, I can keep you stay anxious, or I can use that space to entertain you. So our vision is to entertain you in that space.
Understood.
Okay, we'll figure out. We'll take that journey one by one. We'll start with simple ads, then we'll see if we can introduce content or whatever. But if you are anyway going to open that space again and again, we'll rather figure out ways to entertain you or give you information or give you deals or something which you can use somewhere else. So that's the mental model, at least in the world of food delivery, that we are using today.
And let's say there are a lot of brands who would obviously vie for that attention, right? Because as you mentioned, and that is a behavior I've seen in myself as well. Once you order, keep going back and checking where is your food, right? How much time is left, where, why it has not come yet. So in that space, what is your framework to decide, let's say, what would a user prefer to engage with, and what would be something that they would feel that, hey, this is not something that I'm really interested in? So if you could sort of share some of the frameworks that you deploy there.
See, it's a combination of three, four elements. One, whatever information we have from your past engagement. Say you engage a lot with OTT content. Maybe that's information we start tracking, and we know that Amar likes more new movies content. Whenever a new movie ad shows up, he engages with it. So that's one. That
Understood.
data is available to us. Because of Instamart, we also have data of the category of grocery or other elements that you are engaging with. So we
Awesome.
start leveraging that information. So we know, okay, what is there that is available to you. So we also start looking at what kind of, are you a person in the app who is opening the deal section again and again? Are you a deal seeker? So maybe deals excite you. So all these different signals of
Understood.
categories you enjoy, your past interaction, your purchasing preferences, we start looking at it. And then obviously there is a factor of the ad bid that you have put in. All of that is factored, and the final equation, there's an equation that kind of takes care of it, and we arrive, which is the equation that works best for the consumer and for us and the advertiser.
No, no, awesome, awesome. I think that framework really helps. I think one of the questions, I'm not sure if you were at Swiggy then, but you can share. I think Swiggy very early in its journey took this call that they will show where exactly your food is once you have placed an order, right? And there were some other competitors I know that I think did not do that. And same is with quick commerce as well. I think some competitors do that, some do not. So what is your learning about the human behavior, right? And obviously I think it's a great product and tech challenge to create something like this and invest in that, creating that entire framework. So how has, let's say, creating and maybe taking that additional burden, sort of tracking exactly where the food is, has helped you, let's say, build more trust and love with the users who are coming, and how exactly it has shaped, let's say, the metrics that you have would have been chasing?
So this is one of those products which gets debated every 3 months because there is a lot of cost in doing it. Correct? It's a huge cost. And to be honest, if you ask me, there's a lot of judgment that has gone in continuing with this. A little
Understood.
bit of the judgment is about, hey, we've been doing this. This is what the consumers expect us. Now there's no going back from
Yeah.
this
I know.
because you're gonna anger your or frustrate your loyal customers. So it's a little bit of what we've already done, what we've already given them a flavor of. Now we need to just continue and
No
ensure that the
going back.
flavor continues. See, generally the philosophy is that we believe the power of movements as an organization. Moments, because if you give customers that wow moment, generally they remember you.
Understood.
Uh, so, they you do a great job everywhere, everything is good, but when you give that wow, they'll always remember. We strive for that wow.
Awesome.
Okay. Like, and a lot of things would have come. For example, I don't know if you got a chance, Swiggy, if you get one or two orders delivered late, the third order we inform you that, hey, we have put yourself on priority because it comes from that belief that, hey, we value you as a consumer. We want to make you feel wow and special. We recognize that, hey, there must be issues that we faced. We are gonna take care of you third time. So all these small elements that you see throughout the app, it's there from that. It's little bit comes from Harsha, who's the CEO.
Understood.
in the organization, and consumers love us for that. I mean, most people, if you talk to, and I know I talk to, and I say I work for Swiggy, they have a smile in their face, and it comes from there. I think there is a happiness that food delivery and these moments kind of create for you, and that's the good part about these moments.
Brilliant framework that the organization is following of creating customer delight, because as a consumer and then obviously as a product builder, I can relate that the more you deliver that delight for users frequently, I think the brand recall and you becoming that preferred choice for, I think there are so many competitors out there, becomes more and more evident because of the transparency in a way that hey, your food is there and I understand. I take care of the business in my current role as well, and I know that the cost optimization would be such a difficult thing to tussle on every few weeks, and as you mentioned, quarterly. But I can relate, and glad to hear about the customer first mindset at the organization. But one thing that you mentioned is that culture of creating that wow for the user, right? And recently, I think I'm not sure of the time frame. In the last 6 to 9 months, we have seen that Swiggy has really invested in predicting what we might order at a particular time. For example, in office, I generally order from Starbucks a black coffee around in the afternoon when it gets sort of when you are in that 4 to 5 p.m. kind of a time frame. And when I open that app, I see that widget that hey, you ordered this particular aspect, and I really get that delight. But I think a lot of people that I talk to, and we were going through some of the ratings as well, always feel that maybe similar to MiniTV or Netflix or let's say at Swiggy, when you have so many options, the decision fatigue kicks in. That hey, which restaurant to order? Because Swiggy, obviously, for example, you mentioned kebabs a couple of times. There are brand names which are famous on. There are brand names which have good imagery on. There are brand names which my friends have mentioned, but maybe I have not tried. And then maybe you have to really invest in going through all the different aspects. I'm not sure if, let's say, you have also felt that from your users that decision fatigue is already there, and are there people who are spending a lot of time and eventually not ordering anything? Are they getting confused? And how does that exact human behavior on the app figure out, and what has been the framework that Swiggy has taken for solving all of this?
So
Because yeah, sorry, please.
no, I think it's not just Swiggy, and you touched upon even say when you go through an OTT app, sometimes you don't know what to watch, and you end up scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. So generally, the wherever we have this thing where it's a little bit about instant consumption,
Understood.
food is an instant consumption, food delivery or entertainment is an instant consumption, and if you don't have exact clarity in your mind, you can get into the as a consumer, you can get to this state of loop of what to do. It's an open problem. I don't think none of the industries have solved this.
Yeah.
We've experimented with what to order. Netflix has experimented with something. Let me give it a shot or something. What they call it still is. So it's still open. We all try to use different signals, which is context, what your past behavior is. Uh, the or in a very mathematical way, we create a vector, which
Understood.
is your each item or restaurant that you see has a vector score in terms of dimensions from what you generally like to and how far in terms of vector distance is it from your preferred content. So you play with that data science. We then we also introduce other contextual elements. For
Understood.
example, if it is, as I said, if it's a shroud or if it's a something, then we bring in that, or if it is raining around you, we try and bring in those contextual elements to kind of, the fundamental point is one, we try and realize, has the consumer started reaching a stage where they're confused, which comes from the number of browsers, the scrolls they have done. If they have done that, can we bring in some external signal to help them decide, which could be the weather around you, which
Social.
could be past what you've done, could be social behavior, your friends like this. Zomato had tried this in the world of friends are like this. So figure out external cues which you can give to the customer to make a decision. If you can't do that, if that does also doesn't work, maybe take them to a journey which is more controlled, which was what to order, and see if that can navigate and help them in making a decision. So it's almost like this three layered structure, which at least we've stayed. It's still an open problem. It's not a solved problem. We'll see where how long it takes for us to solve.
No, no, I understand, and I think kudos to the efforts that the team is already doing. On decision fatigue, and I think what we have been dabbling with, right? How AI is shaping, and earlier you mentioned about the case study at Amazon, right? That I think as a someone who wanted to register as a seller, the process was hard, and now AI has sort of really revamped. Anything at Swiggy that you believe that with the advent of LLMs and then the advancement in ML has really become very easy, which was not an easy problem to solve? particularly this decision fatigue issue, and any framework that you would want to share with the wider audience basis some of the things that may have worked, some of the things which have still are getting very difficult to solve.
See, I think across all organizations, not just in Swiggy, with the advent of LLMs, lot of work that was done in the field of sales management, account management, voice creation, or internal analytics and reporting management, your creative management, where you're creating banners wherever required. All of these have got faster.
Understood.
In the world of product management, as discussed upon, wireframe creation has got faster with your LLM. So I think general productivity of the organization has significantly improved
Understood.
in the world of LLMs. Several capabilities where creation was a problem, like I spoke, catalog in Amazon or catalog in restaurant imagery or any of that, they have become possible now with LLM. So you will find these elements to be there. See, machine learning has remained as it is, and any e-commerce, including Swiggy, has a lot very high adoption of machine learning. So that remains as foundational in the world of personalization.
Understood.
I think as a product manager, the way I look at it in terms of using AI, and I put a LinkedIn post also some months before. Generally, I look at it in four buckets. Bucket number one, when I say, the context to me is how should we use AI? The biggest mistake somebody can do is if they start thinking AI is like an elixir which will solve. I create it and it will just work.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. And we are now seeing history of organization firing employees thinking AI will solve all their problems. Then after 6 months, organization hiring employees.
Understood.
It's a tool.
Yeah.
AI is a tool which gonna do a lot of things for you, but it's still a tool which will make mistakes. So the fundamental mental model, at least I follow, is first ask yourself a question: is the work that I'm doing,
Hmm.
is it extremely complex in decision making? It has like thousands and thousands of variables that are present. Number one. And number two, do I have all the data available to make
Understood.
that decision? If the answer to both of that is yes, you should use a machine learning or an AI tool.
Understood.
If the answer to the first one is no, it's not many variables, probably just 50 variables, then you are more better off trying to use a rule based system than an AI based system. Create a rule,
Understood.
set out like a decision tree. If the answer to the second part of the equation, that do you have the data, is no, use an out of box tool, use an external organization which can do that job for you. Don't try to create a AI tool for your own. You'll not win if somebody else has more data, more
Understood.
structured data.
Yeah.
You kind of create better models. That's the first part. Second part is, say you want to use, you decide you want to use an AI. Are you okay with a probabilistic response or do you need a deterministic response? Let me give you two examples.
Understood.
Probabilistic response is you want to create imagery for restaurants. Say restaurants click a photo of a dish and you can use AI to improve it. It's okay even if there are some minor tweaks here and there. Generally, the outcome that will come is good enough. Even if there is a mistake,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
some pixel here and there, it's okay. People can 1 day later, 2 day later, the restaurant owner may itself realize the problem and she will click again and correct it. And you're okay with the probabilistic response in that space. Let's take two different examples. You're creating invoices for your vendors and you have thousands of vendors, or you're reading invoices from thousands of vendors. If you make a wrong reading and you make a wrong payment, it's a massively big issue, and you will not even realize you made a payment. Say you somebody had to pay 5 lakh rupees, you ended up making 50 lakh rupees. By the
Big,
time
big,
somebody reconciles, if the vendor has not come back, you already made the payment. And if it is a one time vendor, then the money's gone. It's extremely difficult to get back that money. So it's a massive issue. The world of medical technology, which doctors I is good, but you can't have a probabilistic system. You can't diagnose somebody with a disease on a probabilistic system. You need a deterministic system. So understand what kind of a product you are creating. If
Mm-hmm.
it's okay with the probabilistic solution, make AI the front and center of your tool.
Understood.
Whatever the output of the AI is,
Mm-hmm.
you can directly display it, enter. It's what I called AI created, AI delivered.
Understood.
If it is the third bucket where you have to be deterministic, it always has to be AI recommended but human implemented. So AI can act as a recommendation tool, assistant tool, whatever you may do it, but the final decision in that case has to be by a human. So have that clarity in your mind. So to me, these are the broad three. The fourth bucket, which people say is autonomous vehicles, which is AI does everything, but you just monitor. It's primarily you act as a monitoring layer where you The tool will work. You will look at your data, you look at your systems, and you will have to continuously monitor how it is performing. A recommendation layer, a personalization layer that you see in e-commerce app is an exact system. It works on its own. It is working day to day basis. You keep checking the data, you keep doing audits, sample audits to see if it is performing well. These are the four broad uh, or sections I have that I can think of where you need to use AI, and you need to be judicious to use what AI in what form.
Understood.
It is, if you make a mistake of using AI in a which has to be deterministic in nature in a probabilistic form, you can incur lots of losses. It's, as a product manager, be very clear in your mind what is the impact of a mistake. If the impact of a mistake by an AI is very high, always use human decision tools. If the impact of the mistake is relatively lower or minuscule, you can have human monitored systems which can just check and audit if things are working fine.
No, no, that's a
But remember, it's always human monitored. There is no tool without human monitoring. It has to have a monitoring system. If you're
understood.
not doing monitoring, you're creating a black box and you don't even know where your product is going.
No, that's a brilliant framework. How I think would take away learnings is that if it's a two-way door where, let's say, there is less chances of you having a large consequential impact, I think it's okay to sort of use AI in whatever sense it is. And if, let's say, it's a one-way door, you have to have very stricter guardrails and controls and make sure that everything is, let's say, vetted and human monitored. So that brings me to very interesting things, because as of today there are a lot of debates, right? I think Google has now come up with a synth ID for brilliant images that we are creating using nano banana, etc. But what are the elements within Swiggy where you felt that, and obviously related to food ordering, where you felt that you made this conscious call that if we were to, let's say, AI run the show for maybe the images of the food items that we say or something else, where you felt that maybe users will not feel that same amount of trust with Swiggy, and hence consequently we took a step back and maybe kept doing it the way which is, let's say, maybe AI is helping but not driving in the front seat. So something where we took that hard call that it will remain a lot of effort, but maybe it's better to let it continue in the way just from a trust perspective.
I think one of the things that we need to ensure in the world of Swiggy is if you search on Swiggy,
Mhm.
the traditional mental model was that you whatever search results you should
Yeah.
show.
Okay. Yeah.
Now you searched for vegetarian kebab. You store, then after a point you start seeing non-vegetarian also because search will rank and create relevance.
Yeah.
If you leave it at that,
Hmm.
theoretically you can say, hey, I have done my job, but it doesn't work because there's a concept of explainability. As a consumer, they don't care what your relevance ranking is. So
Understood.
it is important that you introduce elements of explainability. So one of the things Swiggy is experimenting is we now bucket these relevance scores. If something is very highly relevant to the text search that you've done, it will the moment we realize that we are deviating more.
Understood.
For example, if you've written galati kebab, let's just put it this way. We've we found galati kebab still search result 8.
Okay.
Then we're done with galati kebab. Then we realize that okay, but we are finding elements which have the word kebab in it and is non-veg in it. We'll introduce a text which says we found all the above galati kebabs. However, we also found some other kebabs which you might be interested in. And then we start showing the other relevant kebab
Understood.
results. We're doing the same thing. We're not changing the ranking, but we're introducing a text which means that you understand what is getting shown to the consumer and there's a conversation with the consumer happening. So the
Understood.
concept of explainability becomes important in the world of search. So I think that's one area where just purely depending upon AI cannot work. You need
Understood.
to have that understanding of what the AI is showcasing to you, and then you introduce where you feel that there is a deviation from what the consumer is asking.
Understood. No, no, I understand. I think in the pace where everything is becoming quicker and AI enabled, I think definitely there are few avenues which I take away as a learning where product managers have to be more conscious. They have to thoroughly test and maybe take those decisions where it's okay. But basically, that trust has to be maintained, because if it is lost one time, I think it has massive repercussions from a user point of view. That
Absolutely.
brings me to how the human behavior is changing, Tapoja. I think I read in one of your quarterly reports, I think this one or the last one, where Bolt, your 10-minute food delivery service, has become I think it's contributing 8% to the top line. I'm not sure. Matlab, you can correct me on that number. So, what was the mental model when you started thinking about it? Was it a more business driven decision, or looking at how the products, and let's say more of a product decision, looking at the user behavior? And then eventually, I think it would have been as a, I think, massive effort to get all stakeholders again. Your Amazon days get reminded. So how did you convince everyone across the board, and any key human behavior that you have seen within Bolt itself that surprises you and continues to amaze? But by the way, thank you for creating that. I think there are a lot of times where we are in a hurry and then we really want food to come quickly. I think in those office breaks, and their Bolt is really a lifesaver.
No, I think first of all, Bolt had, to be honest, little influence because the idea itself came from our CEO. So
Acha.
so I think we need to give credit where it is due. It came from our CEO. He realized that the space in the industry with quick commerce is a space where consumers' desire for faster delivery is gaining again and again.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
high time even the food world acknowledges it and takes it. And then we work towards it and to make it happen. We've seen a lot of consumer love. Swiggy has seen a lot of consumer love in that space. uh, I think one of the interesting things that came up during the initial launch was how, one, people misunderstood speed to not good quality food, and a lot of work had to be done in terms of, hey, what
Fresh
it is.
food.
These are not stale food, or these are not like, these are food which was, think of it like sandwiches or biryanis, which are anyway pre-cooked. So we just factoring the delivery ecosystem around to make it fast. So those were some of the learnings that were done. Then some of the learnings that was done on consumer experience was, if somebody is wanting quick food, how do we design the experience in such a way? For example, if you notice in the Bolt page, if you open, historically we used to show restaurant, search result is restaurant, 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 restaurant.
Now it's
Then
item.
it's item. We realize if somebody is even looking for speed, let the consumer experience also optimize it for speed and be item backward. Those were some of the, like, these are all small nuances that were picked in, and then overall they created a very wonderful solution for the consumer, and it has seen a lot of love.
And do you see more retention compared to, let's say, more frequency of ordering on Bolt on a regular basis compared to, let's say, the normal food ordering that people do? Any insights about?
There is a higher repeat numbers on Bolt that comes. So that no question asked. There's higher repeat numbers. There's higher engagement with the app. People who order and get delivered on time. There is
Yeah,
definitely.
understood. And I think a large part of this, when we talk about food delivery, right? I think we have been dabbling a lot with the user behavior, but there is a delivery partner as well. So I think some backdoor insights on how the delivery partner take it up. Do you even share with them
No,
that this has to be
no.
delivered? It's a
Delivery
normal.
for the delivery partners don't know if it's a Bolt order.
Understood.
All the equation is done mathematically, not on riding fast. It's
Understood.
mathematically of where the delivery partner should be standing, which restaurants that we make them stand nearby, how far is the location of the order from there. So it's a lot of mathematical optimization. There is no vehicle speed optimization.
Understood. No, no, that is a brilliant insight, and I think there are a lot of road safety nuances as well which come up. And grateful to Swiggy and leaders like you who are making sure that they are not worried about. But obviously, I understand that the user preference is chasing more quicker turnaround, more quicker aspect everywhere. On that aspect, I think one of the interesting points about Swiggy, what we have been looking at, and I think now I'm not sure, maybe please correct me. I think you take care of Dynot as well. And there are a lot of other revenues which Swiggy is going into. And one of the key features or insights I looked at in your quarterly report was around the monthly transacting users across different aspects, right? So if someone is coming as, let's say, to order food, how do you get them to explore dine out? I think it's 28% what I roughly remember, and maybe I think you would have the updated published numbers. How are you envisioning that, and where do you think, let's say, the user behavior when they know as Swiggy about a food delivery? How do you tweak that behavior to now start accepting that, hey, for if you are gonna go out and you are gonna dine out as well, I think that word stands for the brand name. But if you're gonna dine out, you also have Swiggy. So how had that journey been like? Did you face any challenges and any learnings for any PMs out there who are trying to? Because what happens, I'll share. One problem I have also faced is that when your app stands for one core feature but you start introducing other things, what are your let's say learning, how to make sure that the learners, or because I work in edtech, I said learners, but how the users are slowly becoming aware about your multiple offering without impacting that the core use case itself starts to not dip down or sort of start decreasing.
I think it is way harder than anybody imagines. It's not easy. Like even in today's world, the Swiggy Dine Out team is extremely, I will not use the word frustrated, but they feel that a lot more consumers of food delivery should be aware of Dine Out, right? So I think it's a much harder challenge than initially thought. Couple of things which are also in mind is, as we discuss, food delivery is a state where people enter when they're hungry. It's a heightened state of emotion. You don't want to distract them. You can only distract them once they have taken a decision and performed an action. So a lot of activity on the cross-selling piece happens either after the post-order page, where you start informing them. You can give them incentives of that, or in the beginning when they open the app. So it's in terms of just letting them know there is a dine out. There's a lot of activity that happens through outside the app communication
Understood.
in terms of emails or textual communication or any of that, in terms of, and reaching out to relevant folks.
Understood.
That, like, weirdly, we even tried calling people who reserve on Google. So if you reserve on Google, by the way, and you can choose dine out as an option,
Yep, yep.
and we tried calling them and explaining to them that, hey, you can use a dine out app also to
Yeah.
do this. That has been, by the way, the most effective, if you ask me. The conversion
Understood.
rate to be the highest. Like, if when I come from a world where I used to think calling somebody is not the right thing, like, why do you bother them? But my learnings had changed as we moved to tier two or India, where it's a normal, it's fine. People are okay to get called upon, and you call them and you talk to them, you explain to them, and then next time onwards, you are seeing a much higher usage of the Swiggy app. So even we have seen even basic traditional techniques being powerful in this. It's still a
Yep.
long journey, which tries to use different touch points across the app, different incentives across the app, different mediums of communication to cross sell. It's still far away from end state, but it has progressed very well in the direction the organization at least wants it.
And when do you, let's say, as a framework, right, for everyone tuned in, how do you, let's say, know as a product manager that you are doing it over and above that when you are trying to cross sell and maybe introduce new features that you have built? I think Swiggy also uses notifications, right? For example, if I have ordered something and it's dinner time, maybe you cross sell Instamart. And obviously, dine out is sometimes when you are on dine out, there is some notification related. What are the frameworks that you have seen? Matlab, is it better to let the users come and sort of discover things on their own? When to push, how much to push? Any guardrails that you would
I think
suggest?
I think the way, and not just Swiggy, even most B2C companies do that, including Amazon and Flipkart, is they try and build what we call as the AB framework. So
Understood.
there is an AB system that exists, which means even when you try to make a change, you want to build a new notification, you want to do a cross, you will compare by giving X percentage of people this experience, Y or another X not the experience, and you start looking at metrics in terms of how many clicked, how many transacted in both the cohorts, how many came back to the app after 1 week on the cohorts.
Understood.
And when you start measuring it, you'll come to know, okay, this is the acceptable range, this is relevant range, this is a non-acceptable space. So that's the best way. Like, before anybody who's trying to use these cross-selling tools, my fundamental recommendation is build a good AB system. Because
Understood.
if you don't build a good AB system, you may end up optimizing on what you think is right, and 3 months down the line, you may realize you've alienated a lot of customers who are very important customers. So that is a foundation. Luckily
Understood.
for a lot of us, that foundation already exists in Swiggy. In an organization that foundation doesn't exist, first step will always be to build that foundation, build that standard AB system that you need to have.
Understood. And I think just a quick check. Do you use external platform? Have you built internally? Any pros and cons that you have realized of an AB system? There are a lot of tools out there. How do you
Up to
look at
you.
it?
See, the way we look at it is, if you are building a system which is a standard linear transaction with limited number of variables, like a video OTT app, as I would put it, please use an external system. It's fast to move ahead. If you have some nuances which are very specific to you, for example, in the world of food delivery, there is nuances of peak time, 8 p.m. stress, delivery operator. Nobody has built that. So you need to optimize those elements.
Fair
Then you
point.
need to build it in house. So just take a call. Always, I always prefer externalizing solutions whenever possible.
Understood.
unless you have something unique which is just not possible to externalize.
No, build versus buy is a recurring debate in the PM
Yeah,
world.
yeah, and like I've seen organizations like Amazon which tries to build everything on one
Understood.
extreme. Everything is built, even your HR tools is built in house. And then you come to the world of Swiggy's of the world, which tries to externalize as much as possible. I think the mental model I always follow is, if
Quicker.
it's not your core strength, figure out what's your core strength. Is this what you are selling the consumer? Is this
Understood.
what you are literally going behind the consumer for? Then it has to be built because that's your IP.
Understood.
If it is a tool to make you productive,
Mm-hmm.
no point building it internally unless you can't find a vendor.
No, awesome, awesome. I think that I think came all of a sudden, but I think would be a good, useful information for all of us out there. Coming to, I think we touched upon it in the start as well, and as we move towards the last section of the podcast, is that the AI world is obviously changing very, very quickly, right? And it is changing professions. It is changing a lot of these things today. As when you look at, let's say, managing a product used by multi-million people on an everyday level for such an important use case, as a PM leader, where is AI helping you? And then when you talk with your team, what is the direction that you give across the layers, right? That this is where product management is changing, and you should sort of be at the forefront of utilizing AI, if there is anything that you would recommend.
I think a couple of points we covered. Like one is how can we leverage AI to make us more productive and
Yeah.
efficient,
Yeah.
and two, how do we AI use AI in our tools, what we are building, the product that we
Yeah.
are building, and make it more effective. I think I'll bucket into these two cohorts. The first cohort is a lot where we push our team and we push ourselves. Like for example, if you're writing a PRD, can it be done faster using AI? Write down the bullet points, make it. If you've written a PRD, can you get the wireframe done quickly in next 10 minutes using AI? Can you use tools to create design templates for you? So all of that work honestly is getting done by AI. Other levels of productivity. Can you create your own personal metric alarms? Like I actually have started creating personal metric alarms, which
Awesome.
reads dashboards and says, tell me if any of the tools, whenever any of these elements go below this threshold metric. And you can create complex equations and you can and do it. So create your own personal metric alarms. Sometimes you don't have to read your dashboard every day. You just check the alarm will do the job for you. So make yourself way more productive. So these are all productivity tools. Couple of days ago, I gave this presentation in UBS forum. That presentation was created using an AI. I didn't use Microsoft or PDF or anything. I have this book coming up. I gave it a chapter of the book. And as I use this chapter, use these 10 pages in the chapter which is focusing on conflict management and influence, create a presentation for me. And it did. Obviously, I had to prompt it. It took me
Yeah.
like a half an hour to play around. But in half an hour, I had a fully ready HTML based presentation,
Understood.
which I can use properly. It was way faster than if I had gone to
Yeah. Create
presentation
more.
tools and created boxes and diagrams and everything. Just I think we all need to figure out how to be more productive. And all these tools are really out there uh, helping in this like completely digression. I had to create a will for me last month. That will was
Okay.
created, which is applicable in US and India both. It was created. I asked a lawyer to make it. The lawyer in US said, "I'm going to charge you some three fifty
Thousands of.
dollars. No, three
Okay.
fifty dollars. No, $3,500."
Yeah. Yeah.
I asked Cloud to create it. In 2 days, it created something which is legally valid at no
Oh.
money. So
Yeah.
it's up to you. Like it's up to us to figure out how we can leverage the current tools in what form. Obviously, you have
Understood.
to be careful what information you are sharing from a
Yeah.
personal side.
Privacy again.
Privacy again. So that's the productivity sets. Then comes the productivity of the product, which we discussed, the framework which I've kind of used and pushed the team. Evaluate against that framework if AI is the right solution for your product, and if yes, what form of integration is the right for your product. So these are the two elements which I generally kind of, two cohorts, you'll see me kind of pushing the usage of AI.
No, no, awesome. And I think you briefly mentioned about your upcoming book. So congratulations on taking that. Uh, I think leap. And I know that I keep scouting for, let's say, product leaders book about product management in India and how that has been evolved over a decade. And I'm sure that your book would be a treat to read and sort of so much to learn from. So excited to look forward to that, and I'm sure that when it's available we'll share the link with our community members as well. I think that would be great.
Yeah, I think I hope the the audience finds it useful. I think the reason I wrote it is, I spoke to you earlier, there are a lot of elements in product management, right? There is stakeholder management, influence, which hardly gets taught across the world. I have observed how AI implementation needs to happen. There's so much work on technology, there's design thinking, which needs to be thought through. And then there's obviously product sense. What I've tried to cover was all these foundational elements, which ideally should have been like a course called MBA in product management, if I put the word, is and see if anybody who's in that 0 to 5 year experience bucket wants to kind of get all the basics in one space, with the specific context of India, of how we've grown,
Mhm.
try to cover it. We'll see how the audience and the readers like it. I will be very grateful if the reader find it very valuable on this space.
No, I'm sure it will be. Given last 1.5 hours, I have learned so many new things and frameworks. I'm sure that people who are just starting in the product management career would really, really benefit from it. And thank you for taking out time for the community and writing that as well. And I think before we wrap up the project, I think just looking back at Swiggy AI, everything that you have been doing in the product element, where do you think, let's say, the liaising between the product managers, designers, and developers is changing? How, let's say, what are the finer nuances of how each of these professions are changing, evolving, and how do you see the future of, let's say, these careers becoming together in next 5 to 10 years?
We'll have to, I think each of the roles
Mm-hmm.
will have more and more aspect of the other roles involved, incorporated in the next 5 years. What I mean by that is, as a product manager, today you depend upon a lot on your design team to create the designs based on your PRD. A lot of
Understood.
the work might get still 70% or 60% of the work might still get done by a AI tool, which can initiate the work and create a basic level uh, toolkit for you or design for
Understood.
you. Similarly, you may not be able to create the full product using software, but using vibe coding, you can create a prototype which can get people convinced. Again, that is almost like 10 to 20% of the software development work that you do today. So I think what will happen is it's like a product manager will no more remain a good product manager if he or she doesn't know how to use these productivity tools, which can improve the output that they are creating, which
Understood.
is which sometimes the external party used to do. So that's one aspect of it. Second aspect of it that I will start seeing is, which we touched a little bit, is with AI coming in.
Mm-hmm.
See, today in the industry, there's a lot of debate on should we do it, should we not do it, should we do it, should we not do it, right? As the cost of development comes cheaper and development becomes faster with AI, lot of questions which were, hey, should we do it, should we not do it, will become, let's do it, let's see how it reacts, how the consumers react to it. So you will see more and more output coming from these companies.
Understood.
Say a Swiggy will have more different product launches coming in because of the AI. So the development will become faster. And that's where your ability to measure which product is working and which product is not working will become even more important. So as a product manager, your ability, I know some of the readers calls it evals. That's one word which you can use, but to me, it's traditionally always been there. It's called measurement of your
Yeah.
success. So just
UAT test
uh,
metrics,
yeah,
HPC.
like just solving for a success metric. Whether you do it through AB, whether you do it through different surrogates, it's up to you. But having the right testing framework, not just about usability, but about actual product performance and the value it
Understood.
creates,
Mhm.
will become more and more critical, because that will become your decision making. It will come much faster and with
Understood.
much more higher numbers than what it used to come now.
That is a brilliant framework. I think in the US, not particularly, I've not seen in India, maybe it's happening here as well. I think the role of a product engineer is becoming very, very famous, which are well paid, particularly engineers with a great product thinking who are now.
See, I think product management is a very new job family compared to some of the other job families
Yeah.
like your marketing, sales. So it is still not well defined, and with the advent of AI, it will continue to be fuzzy.
Yeah.
Right, it'll not be well. So lot of times it is up to the person to decide what my role is.
Understood.
The person performing the role thinks big, and she feels she can add a lot of value to the organization by also, as you said, becoming a design engineer or
Yeah.
also becoming a product engineer. Then it will grow her career much faster. If she
Understood.
thinks that is not my role and my role is restricted to PRD, it will
Understood.
not help him or her grow. So
Understood.
So my comment to anybody is leverage the fuzziness that
Understood.
exists in the world of product management, so
Mm-hmm.
that you can try and create more and more value for the organization. Don't go get curtailed by traditional definitions of what a product manager role is. Like, start, obviously you have the core well defined, but you don't have to end there. You can always add more value. The more value you add, the more your career will grow. So I think that is one thing I'll have to say to anybody who's in the field of product management in the next few years. That doesn't take away from the core. Core remains consumer understanding, going to that nuance of human psychology, of what to use, how to, why will somebody use it, mapping it to the foundational needs, getting the data validation right. Always have that clear in your mind, because the foundations and the fundamentals don't go away. So that
Understood.
is my comment to anybody who's kind of in the world of product management and is wanting to grow in the field, and what will happen to them in the next 5 6 years. I think, see, the default answer anybody will say is okay, UPI. There's nothing, no bigger product in the country which is there. But I think even after UPI, I really love the sound boxes. To me, the
Understood.
sound boxes have done so much value, and yet it being so simple and cost effective in its solution. There's nothing can be more simple yet impactful in the world.
The
Yeah.
consumers as well.
Yeah.
So,
See, I think I'll not say overrated. People have the belief that, hey, and we touched upon it, is when you create a product, it's okay to have a bad product, but get it out in the market. Like, speed is utmost important. I'll always say is depend on the product you're launching, which means if you're
understood.
launching a product which is first time in the industry, nobody has tried it before, absolutely focus on speed. Get it
Understood.
out, you'll get feedback. But if you're the second, third, fourth player in the industry, then you need to match the bar set by the other players. You
Understood.
can't launch a relatively half cooked product in the name of let's get consumer feedback early. So
Understood.
always put the context of where you are as compared to your competition before you decide on whether you should just purely focus on speed or have a little bit of a quality up. I think in terms of voice, Shreyas Doshi does a fabulous job in. I
Yeah,
think
we noted that. Yeah.
I have yet to see a person whose content touches and gets the nuance of human psychology, organization behavior, all of it together. So if you want to follow one person, please follow him. He does a great job of it. In
Understood.
terms of books, I love the book called Power of Moments, which we touched upon. But
Understood.
I find the book Measure What Matters as to be foundational in the world of product management. It
Yeah.
really touches about how organizations behave depending upon what metrics you have given them. So it's such a powerful tool in influence, because as a product manager, we can't tell people what to do, but if we define the right set of metrics in our product and how it's evaluated, that metric can automatically make the organization rally around and do the right thing. So
Yeah.
setting the metrics gets very important, and Measure What Matters is a very good book in that space. I think in the world of creation, especially document creation, PRD creation, or even presentation, I use Cloud 5.2 a lot. I found it to be the most effective one in terms of usage. If you want to do industry research, your GPT or even a wrapper like a Perplexity is good. But
Understood.
if you want to create something, at least currently, I find Cloud to be very, as a model, to be very effective. But up to you. Please find your context. Please do your own evaluation before you choose something as your.
Product
Yeah.
nuance is very,
Yeah.
very
Hey, thank you, Amar, for having me. And I just want to kudos to you and the team for kind of doing this and making relevant content for audience who wants to know about product management in the field. It's still a relatively nascent field in India. So all of this work that you guys are doing will really help in kind of building this community
yeah.
as we may talk. So good
Yeah.
work, and very glad to be here. And hopefully this conversation was found useful and valuable by your audience.